We're gonna get started. So hey guys, it's 9 o'clock. Appreciate you guys that are on the webinar with me live. We've got a smaller group, so tonight this was kind of a last minute webinar here that I wanted to do for some of my coaching clients. So we're not live on Facebook. We're not. It's just us sitting here today talking about expireds and for sale by owners. So this webinar, I've got 7 tips to give you. Guys, I'm Jason Morris with Real Estate Agents That Really Work. For you guys that don't know me here, or that might be on the call that don't know me, or you're listening to the recording. So I'm assuming you guys want to list more for sale by owners and expireds. Raise your hand if that's correct. So tonight I've got 7 tips I want to give you to help you list more expireds, to help you list more for sale by owners. Guys, I wrote the book, How to Be a FSBO Master. Whatever questions you guys have, feel free to ask them. You know, I'm happy to answer them for you. Any objections you're getting, any objections that have been a concern in your business, go ahead and ask them. I'm happy to answer them for you, tell you how I would overcome and what my strategy would be to overcome those objections. So let's get started. Tips for expireds and for sale by owners. Get more listings in 2019. So guys, the first thing I want to talk about real quick is this idea. I have actually I stole this idea from somebody else. I'm not going to lie to you. Stole this idea from somebody else. Converters first sorters. You guys in my group coaching have probably heard this before. So which one are you, and what does it matter? Guys, and I feel like this is really important for the mindset and getting ourselves conditioned to call these. I think a lot of us defeat ourselves before we ever really get started. You know, we defeat ourselves in our own head. Our minds can be a very, very scary place. So guys, converters versus sorters. So now what a converter is. Let's say converters, what they do is they spend all their time trying to convert. They're trying to get somebody to go from a non-believer to a believer, right? And these are the agents that lots of times they got 2 clients that are marginally qualified and they can't look for any more business. These are the clients that say, all my leads are bad, right? These are the clients, they focus on the bad leads and don't focus on the good leads, right? You know, guys, if we had to dig through 100 calls a day, 200 calls a day, 300 calls a day, right, to get one good lead that want to do business with us, hey, man, it's a pretty good day. If you get one good client a day, that'd be a good day, wouldn't it? Raise your hand if you agree with that. If you get one good client, one seller that really wanted to sell, that's interested in what you have to say, good day, right? I feel like we can all do that. But a lot of agents, you know, rather than focus on that one good one, they rather focus on the 99 bad ones and how can they convert each and every single one of those. Now, a converter, what they do is, let's say they're flipping through a deck of cards, right? They're looking for aces. Okay, they come across a 6, and the first thing they do, instead of just continuing to flip through the cards, they go and get a magic marker and they try to turn that 6 into an ace. Now, we all know that a 6 is never going to be an ace, right? A 6 is never going to be a 9. A 9 is never going to be a 6. We can't make a 6 a 9. We can't make a 6 an ace. The converters, the people with the converter mindset do that. And I'll tell you what, the reason I believe they do that is because of the movies that we watch. Think about this, guys. A lot of the movies we see, Boiler Room, Wolf of Wall Street, Entourage. Entourage is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Right? But we'd see Ari Gold. We'd see him go in there. We'd see nobody wanted Vinny Chase in the movie, right? Nobody wanted his brother in the movie. All of a sudden, Ari Gold would come in there and deliver some amazing line, one-line zinger, you know? And all of a sudden, they loved the guy. All of a sudden, they were willing to give him a chance, right? Happened in Boiler Room. Happened in Wolf of Wall Street. Leonardo DiCaprio. He'd be talking to somebody. They can't buy the stock. Their wife wouldn't let them, you know? All of a sudden, he delivers an amazing line, converts them from a non-believer to a believer, just like that, right? Now, guys, the only place that really happens is in the movies. And I think there's a lot of real estate agents out there that they're looking for that magic question. They're looking for that silver bullet. right? And I'm going to tell you how you get magical here in just a few minutes on the phone. How do you develop that magical powers, right? But right now with converters, guys, this just doesn't happen. Honestly, think about it. It doesn't happen, right? So that's what a converter is. They spend all their time looking to convert. Now a sorter is a little bit different. Let's say they're looking through that stack of cards, right? They're just flipping through. They're flipping through. They're only looking for aces, only looking for the people that want to work for them, only looking for the sellers that are motivated, that need to sell, right? The guy that don't need to sell, that's $100,000 upside down on a $200,000 property, that person doesn't really need to sell, apparently. The person that's really angry, the person that's really mean on the phone, hey, that person don't need to sell today. We'll move on to the next one, right? We skip past the sixes and the nines in the deck of cards. We're looking for the aces. And that's what sorters are doing. And you got to remember that when you're prospecting expires and for sale by owners, that's what we're doing. We're not focusing on the bad numbers. We're not focusing on the angry seller. We're not focusing on the seller that tells you they had 50 real estate agent calls today, right? We're steady sifting through, looking for the leads, looking for the ones that are ready to do something today. We're looking for that one, right? Right? Most of us, if we found one seller today that really was willing to listen to what we had to say and really had to sell their house, it'd be a good day. Be a good day on the phones, right? Doesn't matter if you spent 10 minutes or 10 hours, it's a good day on the phones, right? Now, the thing about a sorter is they flip through the deck real quick. They call all their numbers, call all the for sale owners, call all the expireds, and then just occasionally they circle back through the ones they didn't get on the phone, the ones they left voicemails for, the angry seller. You sort back through a few days later. You know, lots of times, guys, the people that are angry with you, they're not angry with you. They're angry with the situation they're in. They don't know you. They can't be angry at you. Typically what's happening is they're just upset with themselves. They're upset with the last realtor they had. They're not upset with you, right? So, guys, I wanted to tell you about these mindsets here because I see a lot of agents fail. Because they want to try to convert every single for sale by owner. They want to try to convert every single expired. They get one that don't work and they get bent out of shape. They get one that don't want to work with them. They got five bad numbers in a row and they want to quit for the day, right? We just have to sort through those bad numbers. Your job is to find the ones that want to work with you today. Does that make sense to you guys? Raise your hand if that makes sense. We're looking for the people that want to work with us. The people that don't want to work for us, so what? Right? Hey, Walmart deals with it every day. You know, the people that walk by the stuff they set right there at the entrance, hey, they didn't want to buy it. It's okay. Somebody come along and buy the pallet of bleach or whatever it is. Right? That's what we're doing. We're looking through. So, guys, I wanted to explain that mindset with you to starting out here. I feel like that's important. If we can grasp that mindset, we can it'll help us out a lot better, make it a lot easier for us. So we need to be a sorter. We need to be a sorter. That's the purpose of that whole thing there. So number two, I feel like a lot of agents don't understand this concept here: a condition versus an objection. You guys know what a condition is versus an objection? So, guys, a condition, a lot of agents get kind of stomped on this thing. They say, oh, well, the seller, they wouldn't meet with me today, and they never call them back. Guys, a condition is something that has happened, and the only thing that can cure this problem is time. Let's say, for example, you called, you had a fantastic conversation with a seller, but they wouldn't meet with you today. Right? They wouldn't meet with you today. A lot of agents just hang up the phone, they give up, they never call them back. Oh, they didn't want to meet. They didn't want to meet. Well, the thing is, they might not have wanted to meet today because, hey, maybe they had a doctor's appointment. Maybe they had something else going on, right? I had a seller, this was a while back, but it was a great example of this. We had a bad storm here. Guy, I talked to him several times. We're going to put the property on the market this week. but we had a hurricane coming. It's Hurricane Matthew, actually. It's about 3 years ago. So Hurricane Matthew was coming through. We are going to put the property on the market that week. Realized the hurricane was happening, and the seller said, "Hey, let's wait till after the hurricane." And which, guys, the truth of it is nobody's going to look at it. Nobody's going to look at a house the day before a hurricane is coming anyway. So what? Then so I call him a couple days after the hurricane, gets kind of sorted out, and there's a lot of trees down, a lot of power outages and stuff like that. Call him a few days later and chat with him, and turned out a tree had fell, and it fell over on the roof of the house. Didn't cause really any damage, but he had to get the tree off the house. Couldn't put the property on the market right then. So here's the thing, guys. If we'd have put the property on the market right then, let's just say we put it on the MLS. Okay, we'd had to put it on MLS with a tree leaning over on the front of the house. Now, honestly, that wouldn't have helped me as a real estate agent because, who really wants to look at a house that's fair market value with a tree laying over on it? So that really wouldn't have helped us as a real estate agent. And that really wouldn't have helped him as a seller that needed to sell the house, right? It's condition, and there was no way to, unless I was going to get a chainsaw and cut this tree off his house and fix the shingles, there was nothing that I could really do to help this guy, right? I'm a real estate agent, not a lumberjack. But that's a condition. That's not an objection, right? We still listed the house. We still sold it. Guys, that's a condition. Now, the thing is, an objection is kind of interesting too. Condition is something real that there's no way to avoid it. In fact, they're going to the doctor. The fact they got to work tomorrow, no way around that. An objection, though, guys, we all give objections. Some of us are really good at objections. A matter of fact, I think objections are the survival skill of the 2000s, survival skill of the 21st century. I think that if we didn't learn how to give objections, it'd be a very scary place, right? Think about it, guys. As real estate agents right now, we're all getting those healthcare calls. I swear, I'm getting 8 to 10 a day. I was talking to a guy earlier today about the same thing, and he told me he probably got 15 calls today about wanting to give you a healthcare quote. Now, we get calls for everything. We get calls for healthcare quotes, websites, lead services, you name it, man, we get a call for it. So, and we all have our go-to line. Oh, we don't need health insurance. Oh, we already got health insurance. Oh, we already got plenty of leads. Oh, we already got a website. Our office gives us one, whatever it is. But an objection is typically the seller's go-to line about why they don't want to work with you and what they can do. It's basically an easy way for them to get you off the phone right now. You guys ever had that happen? You ever done that to anybody else? I feel like we're all the same in that regards. We've all done it to somebody else. I like to call these things smoke screens. And in the spring, we have a lot of these smoke screens, Something in a lead tells you to get you off the phone. It's their go-to line. Here's some great examples. Number one, hey, bring a buyer, I'll pay you 3%. How many of you guys ever got that one? Raise your hand. Bring a buyer, I'll give you 3%. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you how to change that, guys, how to change your mindset on that one. Guys, this is the greatest objection you can get. Number one, they understand the value in working with a real estate agent. They understand that you bring value. They are willing to pay you. May not be what you're looking for, but it sets you up. This objection is basically saying, hey, look, I'm willing to hire you, but I only want to pay you this amount, right? This is the objection you should say, fantastic. Continue to ask them questions about their house, set the appointment, and go and list the house through your sales presentation, right? They're willing to let you come. They're willing to hear you out. They might like what you got to say, right? The greatest objection that you can have, bring a buyer and I'll pay you 3%. Number two, we don't want to use a real estate agent. How many of you guys ever heard that one? Raise your hand. We don't want to use a real estate agent. Oh, we don't want to use a real estate agent right now. Or better yet, oh, we got an agent we think we want to use. We got an agent picked out. Oh, well, that's number 3 there. But how many of you guys ever heard that one? We got an agent already picked out. We know a real estate agent. It's fantastic because you know what? We all know a real estate agent, don't we? Right? But for a lot of agents, this gets them on the phone. And you know what? That one line right there, we don't want to use an agent or we already know an agent, keeps them from calling back, doesn't it? How many of you guys ever called a seller, they told you that they already got an agent they're thinking about, and you took them off your list and never called them back? Guys, what happened on the phone is they gave you a smoke screen. They told you something that was really just to get you off the phone. Now, here's the thing, guys. We got to build, number 1, we got to build mental toughness. But number 2 is, you know, we have to continue following up with these leads. You know, the fact they don't want to use an agent, hey, that's okay. I understand. I don't want to use a car mechanic, but I don't want to change my own oil either, right? They might not want to use an agent, but they do want to sell their house, correct? You know, guys, Zig Ziglar said that nobody buys drill bits, they buy holes, right? And a lot of us, what we focus on is we focus on ourselves. We focus on ourselves. We're not focusing on a solution. We're not focusing on their needs. And when we make these calls, we need to think about that ourselves. What are the needs of the seller, not what our needs are? Our needs are, we're a real estate agent, we want to get paid to sell real estate, right? Their need is they want to sell the house. How can we fulfill their need? We need to focus on that. We need to call that mindset. We need to believe, guys, a lot of you guys, the reason why you're having trouble on the phone, the reason you're having trouble listing property is you don't really believe you're worth the commission that you're charging. Think about that. It's pretty wild. A lot of real estate agents are having trouble setting appointments and going on listing appointments because they don't believe they're worth what they are charging, which is unbelievable, right? But guys, these are smoke screens, you know? So what do you do about smoke screens? Objections, excuses, right? We got to practice overcoming them. You know, what would happen if you made 100 calls to sellers, got 100 sellers on the phone, wrote down all the objections you got, right? And then went back. You're only going to get a handful of them, you know, maybe 5, 10, maybe every now and then you get that real creative seller. But guys, I've been selling real estate for almost 16 years. The objections I was getting 16 years ago are the same objections I get today, right? I was talking to a real estate agent earlier. He's been selling real estate 40 years. We talked about the same thing. 40 years ago, they said the same stuff. They said, hey, we don't want to use a real estate agent. Hey, we don't want to pay a commission. Guys, there's not a class and there's not a webinar teaching sellers new objections to tell us. Guys, what would happen in your business right now if you took the top 3 objections, those 3 objections we just talked about, bring a buyer, I'll pay you 3%. We don't want to use a real estate agent. We know an agent. We already got an agent. We know one. Right? They don't have it on MLS, so they must not be planning on using them. Wouldn't you agree? What if you took those 3 objections and you practiced overcoming them 15, 20 minutes 3 times a week, and you got really, really good at overcoming those 3 objections? What would it do to your business? How would it change the calls? How would it change the outcome of the calls you're having, guys? It's one of the things I teach in my group coaching is how do you overcome objections. I have a full webinar going over every single objection you guys in my group coaching could possibly give me. Now, here's the thing. If you can't overcome the objection, it's okay. Hang up the phone. Hang up the phone, call them back in 3 days. They're not going to remember you anyway, right? Follow up. Follow up, try to bring value every time you follow up. Hey, you can call the seller 3 days later, use the same script, say the exact same thing, and they will not remember who you are. I promise you. I promise you. It happens to us all the time. Do you remember the last guy you talked to about your cell phone bill? Do you remember the last guy that you talked to about any of that sort of stuff on the phone? So guys, number 3, I should have put this one number 2, but I made it number 3. And it's scripts. Why do you need them? Why do you need a script? You know, guys, I think that scripts are the magical thing in the real estate business. And it's the thing that we all need that we don't think we need. How many of you guys have ever said, like, hey, I don't like to use a script. I don't want to sound like a robot. You know, a lot of agents say this about presentations too. They say, oh, I don't want to use a canned presentation. Guys, the reason why a lot of your canned presentations aren't working, it isn't the presentation, it's what you have in the can. It's not you. You're just using a bad presentation, right? The reason why a lot of you guys aren't setting more appointments on the phone is because you get on the phone and you say whatever you want to, whatever you feel like saying, you know? You say whatever you feel like saying. You start out talking about selling their house, and next thing you know, I got some recorded calls in my group coaching where I did some role playing with agents, and we'd start out talking about the house that was for sale, and 3 minutes into the call, they're telling me how great of an investment the house is, right? They're trying to sell me on keeping the house. You know, guys, if you ask the same questions over and over again, it won't be long and you're going to know all the answers. If you ask 10 sellers, you ask 100 sellers, you ask 500 sellers, right? By the time you ask 100 sellers, you're going to know all the answers, right? You're going to get so good at them. You're going to get so good at anticipating the answers you're going to get after a couple of hundred sellers that you're going to be able to overcome the objections sometimes before you even get the objections. I mean, it's just the way that it works, you know? Now, here's the thing. It's the same like this in any industry. Same in any industry. If you're waiting tables, guys, how many on the call, raise your hand if you ever was a waiter, if you're ever waiting tables. Okay, so do you remember waiting tables? They get to the end of the meal and you'd walk up to them and you'd say, hey guys, how about some dessert? Didn't take long. It might have took you 10 tables, might have took you 50 tables, maybe 100 tables. Wasn't long. You heard all the stupid jokes, all the stupid answers. Am I right? Raise your hand if you agree with that. Oh, if I got dessert, I wouldn't know where to put it. You know, I mean, just all the crazy things people are going to tell you about dessert, right? This is the exact same way. Exact same way. Adam just said he always offered dessert to go. Hey, would you guys like some dessert to go? Man, that's great. Dude, you're overcoming their objection before they even got it. You know, but you got to the point where you were anticipating. You probably knew, Adam, you probably knew who was going to get dessert as soon as they ordered their meal. Probably got that good at anticipating the conversations and anticipating the answers to the questions you're getting. You hadn't even asked the question yet, but based on the other questions you already knew, right? Yeah, and your portions were huge at the restaurant. Man, that's funny. But yeah, guys, if you use the same script, the biggest thing I see with real estate agents is they'll start using a script they found online. They start using a script they found online. They use it for a week. They use it for 2 weeks. They're learning the questions. They're learning the answers to the questions. They're building that muscle memory. And then they go on a Facebook group. They see where somebody said, hey, I set 2 appointments yesterday. And they say, oh, what script did you use? And next thing you know, that person's emailing it over and they're changing their script. So every time you change scripts, every time you have new questions, you're going to start getting new answers, guys. Every time, let me repeat that. Every time you ask new questions, you are going to start getting new answers. That's the thing. So we have to make sure that to get really, really good on the phone, we're practicing these questions. We're practicing the objections we're getting. You know, a lot of agents role playing. The problem with role playing for a lot of agents is both agents get on the phone, both agents are using a different script. So it doesn't really benefit either agent. You know, if both agents were using the same script when they were practicing with one another, but using the same script on the phone, then they could actually compare real scenarios, right? Versus scenarios that are just hypothetical things they're making up. You know, lots of times agents try to get on the phone to a role play and they play stump the chump kind of stuff. They try to get over on the other person, giving them an objection they can't overcome. But guys, we have to use scripts. If you start using the same script in your business and you start using it over and over again and you're consistently calling, you're going to start noticing that you're going to consistently get a little bit better on the phone, right? Until you get really, really, really good. Really good on the phone. So number four, a pre-listing package. How many of you guys are using pre-listing packages? Guys, if you don't have a pre-listing package, I'm going to give you mine right now. It's Jason Morris pre-listing package.com. Okay, now I recommend that you use mine. I know that some of you guys have office ones that your office gives you. You can use mine. It's free. Go download it. He sends an email. Check your spam. Check your spam or promotions folder. If you're using a KW email address, sometimes your spam filter filters it out. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Has nothing to do with me. It's Keller Williams has a great spam filter, I guess. But you know, you want this. You want my pre-listing package. And the reason I say use mine is because that template is proven. It's being used all over the country and it works. Now I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why you want to use one. Number one, 99% of the real estate agents in your market do not have a plan to send a seller. They do not have a plan to send a seller. If a seller right now needed a marketing plan from them, they don't have nothing to send. Guys, you wouldn't believe how many listings I've gotten over the years where I knew the seller was interviewing another agent, because they typically tell you, oh, well, we've got a couple of agents we're interviewing. My response was always fantastic, right? I know some of you guys, when they say, oh, we've got another agent we want to interview, you want to go and cry in the corner. That is not my approach. Right? My approach was fantastic. I think you should interview more agents. And what you want to do is ask for their marketing package. I'm going to send you over mine. It tells about me, my team, and what we do to sell houses. Guys, I believe we sell a service that sells houses. We don't sell houses. We sell a service that sells houses, right? We get paid on that service's performance. Your business, your listing business, needs to be based around that service. Does that make sense? We do the same thing for every listing, because our plan works. How confident would you be going into a listing presentation knowing that you had a plan that works to sell their house? That gives you a lot of confidence, right? So what would happen is typically I'd follow up the next day and I'd say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, Jason Morris with eXp Realty, I just want to give you a quick call and just make sure you got my marketing plan. And I wanted to see if you got the other agents too and see if you had a chance to compare ours yet. And guys, 9.9 out of 10 times they say, oh, well, they didn't have one to send. So my next line would always be, well, gosh, I can't believe that. So what are they going to do? Are they just going to stick a sign out front and just hope something happened? I had an old broker that used to call it hoping and poking. Basically, you're going to poke a sign in their front yard and hope something happened. And that's what it seems like a lot of real estate agents are doing in it. But I guarantee you, another thing I've heard real estate agents say, and this has been even in my group coaching, I say, do you send your pre-listing package to every person that talks to you about selling a house that you have an email address for? And they go, oh, well, no, I don't want to do that, because what if another agent gets my package? My response to them is, that's fantastic. I hope they get mine. They'll learn something, We can bring up the professionalism in our market. That'd be fantastic to work with more professionals, wouldn't it? But, the truth is, we want to get this in the hands of as many sellers as possible. This is your brochure. This is what you do to sell houses. What if you started changing your focus a little bit? You wouldn't believe how many times over the years I've talked to a seller that wasn't ready to hire an agent. They said, oh, we don't want to hire an agent right now. I'd say, hey, no problem. I tell you what, I'd like to send you over some information about me and my company and what we do to sell houses. Might be a couple ideas you can steal in there. Ha, ha, ha. And, if you change your mind in the future, you're welcome to give me a call. You'll have all my contact information. And low pressure. Doesn't that sound really easy? Doesn't that sound really easy to you guys if a seller says, hey, we don't want to hire an agent right now? Say, hey, no problem. I tell you what, I'd like to send you over some information about me and my company and what we do to sell houses. It includes our marketing plan. Might be a couple of ideas you can steal in there. Ha ha ha, right? Make the fake laugh joke. Ha ha ha. You know, if you decide you want to hire an agent in the future, you have all our contact information. How low pressure is that? You know, how many of you guys, no problem? Hey, no problem, right? Focus on sending that out. Gives you another reason to follow up too. You follow up the next day. Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian. Jason Morris here. Just wanted to give you a call. Make sure you got my email. Hey, do you have any questions about it? Fantastic. Fantastic. Guys, what if you started focusing on that every day? Hey, I'd like to set one appointment. I'd like to set one appointment. Find one seller that wants to work with me. But I'd like to find all these other sellers that like to find 10 a day. Maybe you want to find 5 a day that, you know, hey, they're not ready to hire an agent right now, but you can get your brochure and get your marketing plan in their hands. Don't you think that would put you a little bit ahead of the game on some other agents? But guys, your pre-listing package is going to do tremendous amounts of stuff for your business. It's going to make you more confident. It's going to cut down your listing presentations because this is your listing presentation. When you get to their house, they already know what you're doing. So guys, number 5, your presentation. What happens after you set an appointment, right? Now, I'm going to give you guys a brief rundown of what I do, but I think that you need to have a written system. Guys, in my group coaching, if you go look under the Get Started section in my group coaching, you can find the written section. You can find each section of the written section. You will see videos, questions, how to, examples of pre-listing packages where I went through and critiqued a whole bunch of them for my group coaching, right? But your presentation, number 1, it starts before you get to the house. It starts in your script. You need to make sure your script actually works with what's going to happen at the house, that you're getting the information you need to be prepared for the listing appointment when you set it. Right? So what happens before you want to make sure they get your pre-listing package, because that way you don't have to go through you don't have to remember all the stuff you're going to do for them, right? You're going to put it on this website, put it on that website, make sure it's on Zillow, right? Whatever you're going to do for every listing needs to be in there. Whatever you don't want to do needs to be in there also. If you don't do open houses, don't put it in your pre-listing package. Don't promise it. Guys, I tell you what, one thing I've told agents before, like, I'm not saying open houses don't work, but rather than spend an hour getting ready, an hour cleaning up, and 4 hours sitting on somebody else's couch watching their TV, I'd rather spend that 6 hours looking for another seller to work for. What do you guys think about that? I'd rather spend that 6 hours looking for another seller. We learned in my group coaching, across the board, all lead types, that it was taking about 22 conversations for most agents. Well, this was an average, right? This was an average, people cold calling, everything. 22 conversations to set one listing appointment. Okay, maybe you're a little better on the phone. Maybe you're in a little different market. Maybe your for sale owners are a little bit easier to get on the phone and talk to than expireds or other lead types. But let's say you're at 20, because we're just making math easy. Takes you 20 sellers. Takes you 20 sellers. We're gonna get out the pen here, man, so I can remember it. But it takes you 20 sellers to get somebody on the phone. 20 conversations. Okay, you got to do 8 dials to get one seller. Right? So you need to make 160 calls to get one appointment. Guys, these are pretty accurate numbers. These are pretty accurate numbers. 160 calls to get one appointment. Okay, let's say you're using RedX's one-line dialer, right? One-line dialer. How many of you guys are using a dialer that's on the call with me today? Using the one-line dialer, you're dialing about 50 calls an hour, right? Between getting people on the phone, it's leaving voicemails for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's going to take you roughly 3 hours. right? 3 hours to set one listing appointment. Now, here's the thing, Brian. If you're using Reddit, if you're using the triple line dialer, man, you might be dialing 100 dials an hour, right? You might be having 100 dials an hour going out. You might have more than that, right? But you know, you always get that one seller who spends 5 minutes on the phone, 10 minutes on the phone with you. You know, you always get one, it seems like, here and there. Maybe they doesn't go anywhere but a conversation, but you know, still you have a great conversation, a great follow-up lead. Now, if you're calling geo leads, you're going to be calling, a 20-minute conversation, exactly. If you're calling geo leads, then you're calling basically everybody in the neighborhood. So, I mean, I'll tell you with this, if you're calling geo leads, then you probably are not quite getting, you're going to have to dial some more numbers, just because you're calling entire neighborhoods. But 3 hours, so that time frame of doing an open house, you could have set 2 appointments. You can set 2 appointments in that time frame. So guys, this is truly a numbers game. This is truly a numbers game. It's a numbers game, and you're steady putting people in your funnel. You're making the calls. The calls are the top level of your funnel, right? Not these funky websites that people keep talking about and spending a lot of money on. That's not a real funnel. This is a real funnel that's predictable. So guys, we need to know what we're going to do when we show up. What happens before? What happens when we show up? Right? What's it look like when we're touring the house? Right? We need to tour every house the same. If you tour every house the same, you ask the same questions during the tour, guys, guess what? Same thing as your script. It's going to get really predictable. Guys, the hardest thing to fight once you start listing properties consistently, once you get really good on the phone and you start setting appointments consistently, the hardest thing to fight is going to be repetitious boredom. I'm telling the truth, repetitious boredom. It gets too damn easy. That's the problem. Too damn easy. How many of you guys want to be able to say that about your real estate business? God, it's just too damn easy to set appointments. Guys, I promise you, if you do what I'm talking about here, you get really good at scripts. Guys, you get really good at the scripts in my coaching program, you will be saying things like that. Damn, it's too damn easy. You actually get bored, right? So the presentations are going to be the same way. I always like people. I like to chat with them and stuff a little bit. But, here's the thing, guys. Limit your presentation time to like 30 minutes because here's the thing. You're not there for a social call. I had to learn that. Back when I first started, I was really good at telling people what they wanted to hear to get my foot in the door. And then when I got my foot in the door, I tried to keep it there until I guess I wore them down so they'd sign the paperwork with me. So what would happen lots of times, I'd leave their house and I'd go, man, those people liked me. They invited me to dinner. Raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. Man, those people liked me. They invited me to stay for dinner. Guys, the reason they invited you to stay for dinner is because they didn't think you were going to leave. That's what happened to me. They didn't think I was going nowhere. Yeah, they invited me for dinner. Yeah, man, they were hungry, right? So think of your doctor. Think of it just like your doctor, right? Your doctor, you're going to your doctor. You might know them. You might be friends with them. The only reason you're going to their office is because you have a sore throat. The only reason they're looking at your sore throat and talking to you about it is because it's their job. It's your job to go look at houses for sale. It's your job to talk to sellers about selling their houses, right? The only reason they're letting you come in their door might be a nice person. Most agents I work with are, but, really it's not a social call. They don't have a sign up saying, hey, looking to make new friends, right? No, they're looking for a real estate agent. They're looking for somebody with a plan. And guys, the more scripted your presentation is, the more scripted your calls are, the more scripted your presentations are, the more professional you look. Guys, having a plan is professionalism. Not having a plan is not professional, right? What doctor would you go to if you got to have major heart surgery? Would you rather go to Dr. A that says, hey, I don't really know what to do with this, but we're going to cut you open. We're going to just see what happens when we get in there. You see what happens. We'll figure it out when we get in there. Dr. B says, hey, number 1, 2, and 3 is going to happen. This is how long it's going to take you to recover. 2 weeks, you'll be brand new. Guys, nobody wants to go to Dr. A. Nobody wants to use the doctor without a plan. Nobody wants to use the attorney without a plan. Right? Guys, you don't want to hire the landscaper without a plan or the plumber without a plan, right? But for some reason, as real estate agents, you'll show up to somebody's house and get mad because you have no plan. You discuss no plan. You spend 2 hours at their house. You don't even talk about selling their house hardly. You talk about the football game or MMA fight last week, and you get upset because they list with another agent. Guys, we got to know what we're going to do when we show up. We have to make sure we bring our paperwork with us. We have to make sure it's filled out. We have to make sure we have a pricing strategy prepared along with a net sheet. The biggest mistake I see agents doing is they show up to a listing appointment, don't bring the paperwork to list a house. That's the biggest paperwork. How many times, guys, I can tell you this, when I was a brand new agent, I can't count the number of times. Went to somebody's house, they really liked me, they really liked what I had to say, they wanted to list their house with me. I did not bring the paperwork, and guess what? I couldn't get them back on the phone. 2 days later, it would show up on MLS with somebody else. I got them warmed up, and another agent showed up and closed them. Took the listing from me. Can you believe that? Guys, it was never my listing anyway. I never showed up with the paperwork, right? But we have to show up ready to do business. Guys, number six, guys, we got to have a follow-up plan. How many of you guys have a written follow-up plan to follow up with a seller 12 to 15 times? Raise your hand. I got a lot of you on the call here, and I see no hands get raised. Guys, here's the thing. If we're not following up with our leads, then we're wasting money. We're wasting money. Guys, you know what? Sometimes we have to follow up. Sometimes we have to let that for sale by owner fail. Sometimes we have to let that expired get over the last agent, right? All of us are past high school age, right? Sometimes that expired thing's like a bad breakup, Feelings are a little bit hurt. They don't want to date anybody else right now, right? They felt like they were lied to. The last agent told them how they were going to sell their house, told them all this crazy stuff. They thought they were already going to be moving, but they're not. But follow up. The biggest thing I see agents do is they don't follow up, and we have a duty. We have to follow up, guys. Think about this. Guys, there's probably somebody that called me today. I don't know who it was, but probably somebody called me today. Couldn't answer my phone because I was busy. It happens to all of us. And I didn't call them back, right? It wasn't that I didn't want to do business with them. It wasn't that I didn't like them. It wasn't that I didn't want to, want whatever they were selling. It was just, hey, man, I was busy. And, hey, then I got home, ate dinner, spent time with my little girl, spent time with Laura, and did this webinar with you guys. And when we finish up this webinar, man, it's time to go to bed, right? And I mean, tomorrow, man, I got a full Wednesday. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to call them back tomorrow, but sometimes by the time you get a chance to call them back, by the time you can call them back, man, you just forgot about them. How many times that happened? Or better yet, man, how many times you finally got time to call them back, and dude, you forgot their phone number, right? Man, I've had that to happen to me. I can't tell you how many times I've had it to happen to me. Guys, you owe it to your clients to follow up. Guys, you are not bothering them. In my group coaching program, we talk about follow-up, and I actually lay out a plan for agents. I regularly lay out a plan. I lay out a plan for the month. I lay out plans for the week, right? We should be using every opportunity we can to call back that seller, just to touch base, just to say, hey, just to keep them informed, because it's the professional thing to do. It's the right thing to do. If you truly believe you're the best agent to list their house, you're the best agent to work for them, then you need to keep them informed. Call them every time. When something comes on the market in their neighborhood, you need to call them. When something goes off the market, when it goes pending, when it goes, when it actually closes, right? Most of us will talk to a seller 3 minutes on the phone, never call them back, and get upset because they listed with another agent, right? Oh, that was my listing. It was my listing. How many times you ever seen that? How many times you ever heard an agent say that? Well, they were going to list with me. They were going to list with me, and they told me to call them back in a month. 3 days later, they were on MLS. The agent at the next office down the street. How many times you ever seen that? Raise your hand. Right, guys, we have to follow up. We have to follow up with them because they're not going to follow up with us. That's just the way it is. They're not going to call us back. We have to call them back. Sometimes we have to get creative about it. Right? Number seven is the biggest mistake I see real estate agents make. How many of you on the call today have a problem making calls? Just can't get going. Right? I see 2 raising your hand. Come on, I know there's more than that. 3. I know there's more than that. I see 2 more. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Guys, you can't get started in the morning. Can't get started. Man, I was planning to make calls. How many of you guys set up your schedule and do this? I was going to call in the afternoon, but I just couldn't get going. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that, right? Call avoidance. Guys, the reason why a lot of us are avoiding making phone calls is because we have set ourselves up in the position where you have to do all this work before we make calls. We got to go through Craigslist. We got to go through this. Now, you can get free for sale owners. You can look up the numbers yourself. But guys, I tell you what, it sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks. A lot of agents spend all their time looking for leads. They'll have an hour for calls, especially you guys that are part-time. You guys that are part-time, you'll have an hour to make calls. But you have to spend an hour looking for leads to call. How many of you guys have been in that trap? Guys, I tell you what, RedX, I've been using them over 10 years. RedX is the best bang for your buck. It's $3. It's actually $3.33. It's $100 a month. $100 a month, you got basically somebody sending you all the for sale by owners. You log in, they show up. They're right there on your desktop. They're ready for you to make calls, right? Instead of you showing up and having to look for them to call, they're right there, expireds. Instead of you showing up, having to look up all the numbers and stuff, having to sort through MLS to see if they're listed or relisted or whatever, RedX has already loaded them into your CRM for you for literally $3 a day. Where most of us, if we got to look up 10, 15, 20 expireds, we're going to spend an hour doing that. Then we got to go through Craigslist. We got to go through Zillow. We got to go through Facebook Marketplace. While we're on Facebook, we got to look at some memes. We got to go down through Real Estate Happy Hour and Real Estate Agents That Really Work. And we got to look at the funny stuff our friends have posted, exchange a few messages. The next thing you know, prospecting time's over and we hadn't made the first call, right? Guys, literally for $3 a day, we cannot find somebody, we cannot pay an employee $3 a day for them to do this. I mean, it's the cheapest, no-nonsense service out there, right? $3 a day. The chart, if you tell them I sent you, you tell them you're in Real Estate Agents That Really Work, they will waive the setup fee, which is $150. You'll save $150 by signing up and telling them I sent you. And guys, or you can use the link, jasonmorrisredx.com, and you can sign up through there. Guys, don't look for leads every day. Now, does this find all the for sale owners? Does it get every single number for the expireds? No, it doesn't, but it gets most of them. It gets most of them, and it gets you to making calls. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if that makes sense for you guys. To spend $3 a day to do that. Yeah, I feel like that's the craziest thing, to spend all that time working on that sort of stuff. Hey, Adam signed up today. Greg signed up today. Cool. Cool. So what questions do you guys have? I got a few minutes here. Happy to answer questions. Happy to answer questions you guys have. Guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this webinar. If you could give me some feedback, send me a message through Facebook. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, how to avoid call reluctance. Ethan, that's a great question, man. How to avoid call reluctance. I think I'm gonna give you a multiple part answer to that. I think number one, let me get up my drawing board. Avoid call reluctance. Number one, have leads ready. If you got leads ready, you don't have to think about it. You just jump in and start going, right? Just jump in and start going. You have the leads ready. Number two, have a list of goals. Guys, I think long-term and short-term goals are really, really important. I think if we don't have goals and we don't have something we're working for, then kind of our days get a little bit monotonous, right? If you're having a lot of problems, if you're having a lot of fear, one of the things that I've told agents to think about here lately is what will happen if you don't start calling? And I'll tell you this, guys. For me, I hated showing buyers property. I'd never been in the real estate business 16 years if I was showing buyers property, right? If I was strictly a buyer's agent, wouldn't have worked out for me. I can't stand going and looking at 10 houses, discussing the paint color of the bathroom. Just buy the thing. Hey, look, I'll give you $100 to buy paint with, right? So what's going to happen if you don't start calling? Are you going to be stuck unlocking doors showing buyers property forever? Are you going to have to quit and go back to the business that you were in before, or the job that you had before, right? Are you going to continuously work nights and weekends because a buyer called you at the drop of a hat? And you need to stop what you're doing, leave your child's baseball game, leave your little girl's ballet recital, right, to go unlock a door for them. How many of you guys have ever had something like that to happen? You had to cancel plans with friends or family because a buyer needed to go look at a house, right? Adam said he put 25,000 miles on his car last year focusing on buyers. Adam, I tell you what, here's the deal. Man, you can have 50 listings. All 50 can get shown today while you're sitting at your house in your pajamas watching TV. You can set up showing time or centralized showings. Not a problem. They don't even have to call you to get directions. Okay, but if you got 50 qualified buyers, you can't show them all property this month, right? But Ethan, you got to have a schedule. Got to have a schedule, right? Number 5, you got to have a ritual. Here's the thing, man. You got to have a schedule. You got to plan to work. You're never going to, if you just say, hey, I'll make calls when I feel like it, dude, you're never going to feel like it, man. None of us ever, dude, I don't ever feel like working. If I only worked when I felt like it, man, you guys wouldn't see me. You guys wouldn't hear me on this call tonight. I like doing these webinars and stuff, but man, none of us would ever work if we never get anything done if we only work when we felt like it. You got to have a schedule and you got to plan. Every other business that's successful in the world has a schedule for their employees. If you are a one-man show, you're a one-man single agent, you are your employee. You got to have a schedule for yourself. Guys, a schedule doesn't trap you. A schedule sets you free, right? Working with buyers, you're in reaction mode all the time. Adam, I'll tell you something too, man, that'll help you. Here, if you're only working with buyers, you're focusing heavily on buyers, I guarantee you your business is 100% reaction mode. For the most part, one call in the morning could mess up everything you got planned for the whole day, right? Sometimes you don't even know what's going on tomorrow because you might get a buyer call. You got a buyer that might come into town. He might get off work early, right? So not having a schedule Being in reaction mode, not having a schedule, causes chaos. Causes chaos in your business. And it also causes chaos in your personal life. And exactly like you said, consistency, feast or famine. You have a roller coaster income. You know, you work really, really hard. You got 5 or 6 buyers. You get them all under contract. You work your butt off getting them under contract. You have a fantastic month where you make $25,000, $30,000, but then you don't have another closing for 90 days because once those close, you're basically starting all over. Is that what I'm sure that's what you've been going to. Now, with the pre-listing package, I prefer to email it. I prefer to email it because email's instant. I mean, it's instant. They'll have it 2 seconds, you know. Now, if they don't have an email, every now and then, man, you get these people that don't have emails and stuff. You know what? Dropping it off, there's not a problem with dropping it off. There's not a problem with mailing it. You know, it just depends on how much time you have. So, how frequently do you recommend following up for sale owners? Does it depend on their motivation? You know what, man? Sometimes their motivation's a little funky. You know, sometimes you think, hey, man, that guy really wasn't motivated to sell. Where deep down, you know, we all want to play hardball, right? We all want to play hardball, and we all think we're the best negotiator in the world. Sometimes their motivation is a little tough to pull out of them, but I'd recommend you follow up with them once a week. You know, the people you have meaningful conversations with, meaning they have a phone conversation with you. I mean, man, you follow up with them even more. But I'd recommend you follow up once a week. The ones that are answering your calls, that are easily accessible. You know, the people that are talking to you about what you got going on. Follow up with them once a week, and I think that's sufficient. You might follow up more depending on their motivation. Do not follow up with them on the follow-up schedule they give you, though, because their follow-up schedule is always real generous in the amount of time they want to call you back. Hey, man, follow up with me about a month. Guys, those people that say follow up with me about a month, guess what? They're telling every agent that calls them, they're saying, hey, Adam, call me in about a month. Hey, Greg, call me in about a month. Hey, Ethan, call me in about a month, right? Telling every agent that. Hey, Brian, call me in about a month. So here's what you do with those people, man, that say call me in a month. Okay, number one, you cut it in half. I'd always cut it in half at a minimum. But what I would do was I talk to him on the phone, and I call him in about 3 or 4 days. I'd try to send him a pre-listing package. That's number one. Send him the pre-listing package over. Send it over. Call him the next day. Call him the next day. Say, hey, Adam, Jason Morris. Hey, man, just want to call you, make sure you got my email from yesterday. Told about me. Talks about me and my team and what we do to sell houses. I want to make sure you got that. Great. Did you have any questions about it? Fantastic. Fantastic. Man, basically in the call, whatever, chat with them a few minutes, up to you. So you follow up about the pre-listing package. Wait about 3 or 4 days, 5 days, call them back up. Say, hey, Adam, hey, Jason Morris here, man. Sorry to bother you, but I was doing some research for some clients, and I pulled up your neighborhood. Hey, man, I know you mentioned on the phone you want a 150 for your house. Hey, one just come on the market a few days ago. One just went off the market. One just closed, right? Got to make up a reason. One down the street. Sometimes you might have to go to the next community over. Hey, man, the next community over, it looks about like your house, looks pretty comparable, just came on the market for 150. Hey, man, I was doing some research, and if we put your house on the market right now, you'd be the lowest 4-bedroom in the community. You'd be the lowest 4-bedroom in the neighborhood. Hey, man, your house would be the best price one on a corner lot that backs up to the woods in that school district, what are they going to be the best at? Sometimes you got to really do some research to figure that out. But guys, guess what? Sometimes when you do that research, man, dude, that's important to a buyer out there, right? I mean, I'll tell you this, dude, I don't want to live in a house, man, that backs up to another house. Living in a house that backs up to the woods or backs up to at least a pond or some sort of privacy, man, dude, that's a major thing looking at houses for me, right? So all the ones that I'd rather pay a little bit more, I'd pay a little bit more for the privacy in my backyard. A lot of agents don't realize that either, man, when they're pricing them is, some of those small things make a lot of difference. I mean, being on a corner means that you really only got one neighbor on one side. Everybody else is across the street. Um, a new roof is a big deal. Guys, we forget that, man. The the last real estate boom we were in was 2005. So all the houses that were built in 2005 are now 14 years old. Most roofs in coastal areas like I'm in only, they can be 30-year shingles, but really they only last about 20. Just the salt in the air and stuff, it has a little more wear and tear. So guys, if this 14-year-old house and it's got a brand new roof, guys, that's a big selling feature for the community, right? Big selling feature. So guys, if you have any questions, if you have anything I can help you with for your business, if you're not in my group coaching, you want to join my group coaching, send me a message through Facebook and we'll get you set up. Guys, if you are making calls and you don't have a system, I'm going to end with this. If you don't have a system to have the leads sitting on your desktop when you open up your laptop, sitting on the computer for you, then you need to get that tomorrow. That needs to be a priority number one, man. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for being there, guys.